Andrew Berry didn't just support Shedeur Sanders after his first NFL win. He made a statement. As cameras caught the Browns GM embracing Sanders in the locker room, it wasn't just celebration, it was confrontation. Just hours earlier, Kevin Stefanski had dodged every chance to credit Sanders publicly, refusing even to hand him the game ball after ending a 2-decade rookie QB drought. The optics couldn't have been clearer. Berry believes his quarterback is the future. Stefanski doesn't, or at least won't say it.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
And now, what should have been a unifying moment for Cleveland is exposing a power rift at the top. It's not just about a game ball. It's about what that ball represents: belief, recognition, and leadership alignment. Berry's visible support for Sanders signals a long-term investment in the rookie, while Stefanski's silence hints at hesitation or worse, resistance. The Browns don't just need wins. They need unity. If this internal disconnect deepens, the franchise risks undermining its most promising shot at quarterback stability in years. The question isn't whether Sanders is ready. It's whether the leadership around him is. The Cleveland Browns just ended a 20-year drought without a rookie quarterback winning a season opener, and somehow that wasn't one. Because while fans were still riding the high of Shedeur Sanders' electric debut, after weeks of speculation, pressure, and debate, head coach Kevin Stefanski dropped a reality check so cold it froze the post-game locker room energy in place. No game ball, no name drop, no shout-out, nothing. The rookie quarterback who broke a historic curse for Cleveland didn't even get a pat on the back from his own head coach. And yeah, people noticed. While Shedeur Sanders stayed locked in and professional through the media circuit, it was Andrew Berry, Browns GM, who stepped into the locker room and made it crystal clear. He sees the rookie's value. Berry didn't just hand out congratulations. He gave Sanders a full-on embrace in front of the entire team, signaling one thing: this is his quarterback. And just like that, the quiet tension brewing inside the Browns organization went public. Because this wasn't just about a missing game ball. This was about control, authority, belief, and the beginning of a power struggle in Cleveland that's been bubbling just beneath the surface for weeks. Kevin Stefanski may be the head coach on paper, but when he refused to give Shedeur even a mention after one of the most significant rookie debuts in Browns history, it said everything. And fans weren't buying the "it's a team win" excuse either. The same coach who had no problem spotlighting Deshaun Watson's every move last season suddenly couldn't find 5 seconds to acknowledge the first rookie QB in 2 decades to lead the Browns to an opening win. It wasn't just cold, it was calculated. Because behind the scenes, there's a growing belief that Stefanski didn't want Sanders to succeed in the first place, that he didn't fully want this pick, and that while the front office, especially Berry, was sold on Sanders' poise, potential, and mental toughness, Stefanski and parts of his coaching staff were more hesitant, maybe even actively resistant. And now, that philosophical divide is out in the open. What should have been a moment of team unity, rallying behind a rising rookie and showing the world the Browns finally have something to build on, turned into a spotlight on dysfunction. Stefanski stood at the podium and dodged questions about Sanders like they were blitzing linebackers. Not once did he mention the quarterback's name. Not once did he highlight the very guy who led the team to victory. That's not oversight. That's intentional. And Andrew Berry? He wasn't subtle either. His post-game hug wasn't just affection. It was a power move, a statement, a direct counter to Stefanski's silence. He knew what it would look like, and he wanted people to see it. Because in this battle over the Browns' future, Berry's cards are now on the table. He's betting on Shedeur, loudly, publicly, and if you read between the lines, he's daring anyone in that building to challenge it. That kind of front office versus coaching staff tension doesn't just sit quietly in the background. It leaks, it festers, it divides locker rooms, and if it's not handled fast, it blows up seasons. And yet through it all, Sanders has stayed locked in, calm, quiet, not a single public complaint. No passive-aggressive posts. No subtle jabs. Just game prep and performance. That's what makes all of this even more ridiculous. The guy has done everything right, and still couldn't get a symbolic leather football after breaking a 20-year curse. And that raises an uncomfortable question. Why? Is it Stefanski not wanting to endorse a player he never fully backed? Is it fear of elevating a rookie too soon? Is it ego? Insecurity? Or is it the reality that his seat is starting to warm, and he knows Sanders is more of a Barry project than his own? No matter what the real reason is, the optics are terrible. For the coach, for the culture, and for a franchise that's finally showing signs of having a future at quarterback. This could have been the start of a new chapter for Cleveland, a statement that they're turning the page on the endless QB carousel and starting fresh with someone who's already proved he belongs. Instead, it's a messy, passive-aggressive soap opera playing out in press conferences and locker rooms, with everyone but the rookie acting out of pocket. And it's not just Stefanski's silence that's telling. Reports are already trickling out of disagreements within the coaching staff over Sanders' role, with some questioning whether he should have started at all. It started to look less like internal discussion and more like a philosophical Cold War between the front office and the coaching room. He wants Sanders to succeed because he sees long-term potential, leadership material, a guy who can shift the franchise's narrative. Stefanski, on the other hand, seems hesitant to fully buy in. Whether that's due to control, ego, or just plain misalignment, we don't know. But the energy doesn't lie. And if you're a player in that locker room, you feel that tension, even if it's unspoken. When your head coach can't acknowledge your starting quarterback's historic win, and your GM is practically carrying him around the locker room like Simba from The Lion King, that's not just awkward, it's divisive. It sends mixed signals, and it chips away at trust. Morale starts to dip. Guys don't know who's really calling the shots. And it opens a door for leaks, rumors, and resentment. Because let's be real, quarterback development in the NFL is everything. It makes or breaks careers. And if the Browns let this tension linger, they're not just risking one season. They're risking another cycle of instability, wasted potential, and locker room fracture. Shedeur Sanders is a young quarterback trying to make his mark in a city known for chewing up and spitting out QB talent. The last thing he needs is to be caught in the crossfire of a leadership power struggle. He needs alignment, support, a unified vision. Right now, he's not getting that. Barry clearly believes in him. The way he backed Sanders in front of the team wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. It was a message to the coaching staff, to ownership, and to the fans. This guy is the future, and I'm backing him. And if Stefanski continues to play it cool, to distance himself, to avoid even saying the name Shedeur Sanders in public, he's going to isolate himself. Because the fans are watching. The players are watching. And let's not forget, Barry has the power here. He controls personnel. He controls the long-term direction. And if it comes down to choosing between the quarterback of the future and a coach who's visibly hesitant to endorse him, we all know how that story ends. Unless this team figures out fast, that divide is only going to grow. And if the wins don't keep coming, don't be surprised that there's a coaching change before the season's over. Because this isn't just about football. It's about philosophy, leadership, alignment, and trust. And right now, those things are in short supply inside the Browns facility. So yes, Shedeur Sanders got his first NFL win. He broke a generational curse. And he did it with grace, professionalism, and resilience. But instead of a game ball, he got a front row seat to the dysfunction that's haunted this franchise for decades. And if Cleveland doesn't figure out how to rally around its quarterback and fix this fractured leadership fast, that one might end up being the calm before the storm. If you're still here, drop a comment and let us know. Was Stefanski out of line or just playing it safe? And who do you think is really running this team? Hit that like button if you're as fed up with Cleveland chaos as we are. And don't forget to subscribe for more NFL drama breakdowns. Because in this league, the game isn't just on the field. Let's be crystal clear. This isn't just some locker room drama that blows over in a few days. What just happened in Cleveland is the type of organizational fracture that sticks, that seeps into practices, meetings, and game plans. And in a sport where everything comes down to cohesion and confidence, this kind of internal tension is dangerous. Kevin Stefanski may not have raised his voice, but his silence was deafening. When a head coach goes out of his way not to celebrate his rookie quarterback's historic win, on a team that's been starving for QB success for 2 decades, it's more than a snub. It's a signal. A signal that Shedeur Sanders is not his guy. A signal that no matter how much Barry believes in this kid, Stefanski's not ready to hand over the keys. And if we've learned anything from years of watching talented young QBs crash and burn, it's this. When the coach isn't bought in, the results suffer. The quarterback is the center of gravity in every NFL franchise. And when that player doesn't feel supported, it ripples outward. You could have the most talented roster in the world, but if the coach and the front office aren't aligned on who the leader is, or should be, it throws everything off. And right now, that's exactly what's happening in Cleveland. The Browns had a golden opportunity to rewrite their story, to finally step out of the shadow of quarterback purgatory and build around a young player with poise, polish, and potential. And instead of embracing the moment, their head coach ducked it. No game ball. No quote. No acknowledgement. That's not discipline. That's disconnect. It's not going unnoticed. The NFL world is already buzzing, not just about Sanders' debut, but about the uncomfortable body language in that post-game presser, the tight-lipped coach, the dodge questions, the cold tone. It's the kind of energy that makes players wonder if there's a bigger storm brewing behind closed doors. And to be fair, Kevin Stefanski's under pressure too. His track record with quarterbacks hasn't exactly been glowing. And now, there's a new face in town, one he didn't necessarily push for, winning games and soaking up attention. It's understandable that Stefanski might feel the heat, but letting that pressure turn into passive-aggressive game day decisions, that's not leadership. That's self-preservation. Let's not forget, this is the same Stefanski who's gone all in supporting veterans with messy reputations, who stood at that same podium and defended Deshaun Watson through thick and thin. And yet, when it comes to a rookie who's done nothing but deliver on the field and stay mature off of it, he gets radio silence? That silence says everything. It says Stefanski sees Sanders' rise as a threat, not an opportunity. And if that's the vibe coming from the top, it puts the entire organization on shaky ground. Meanwhile, Andrew Berry isn't playing coy. He's made his stance crystal clear. That locker room hug wasn't just emotional. It was political. It was a show of force. A declaration that he is backing Sanders with full confidence. And whether Stefanski likes it or not, the message is out. The GM has picked his side. This kind of front office versus coaching staff divide doesn't usually end quietly. It doesn't get patched over with a team dinner or a Monday meeting. Because this isn't just a disagreement over strategy. This is about vision, identity, control. And if the Browns don't course correct soon, they're heading straight into a full-blown power struggle. Let's talk about what happens when organizations let this stuff linger. You start to see players picking sides. Some follow the GM's lead and back the new quarterback. Others stick with the coach out of loyalty or seniority. The locker room gets divided, chemistry drops, and suddenly that promising season starts slipping through your fingers. Even worse, free agents take notice. No one wants to sign with a franchise that can't get its house in order. Coaches and coordinators start updating their resumes. And young talent, like Shedeur Sanders, starts questioning if this is really the place to grow. And it didn't have to be this way. A simple game ball. A public, he played great. That's all it would have taken to give this team a unifying moment. To rally everyone around a win. Instead, we're talking about locker room footage and sideline vibes. And let's not ignore how much pressure this puts on Shedeur himself. He's already facing the ridiculous expectations that come with his name, his college hype, and his sudden thrust into the spotlight. Now, he's got to navigate office politics before he's even had time to unpack his rookie season. And credit where it's due, he's handled it with more grace than anyone else involved. No cryptic tweets. No complaining. No offhand digs. Just work. Just ball. But even the most focused young players need support. They need leadership that invests in their success, not quietly resentful of it. And if this coaching staff continues to treat Sanders like an outsider instead of cornerstone, they're going to kill his momentum before it even gets started. It's a dangerous game because young quarterbacks don't just succeed or fail on talent alone. They succeed when the system is built to support them. And right now, that system in Cleveland looks shaky. If you're ownership, this has to be a wake-up call. The GM and the coach are not aligned. That's a problem. You either fix it or you pick a side. Because the last thing this franchise can afford is another wasted QB experiment. Another round of what if years from now when Sanders is lighting it up somewhere else. We've seen this movie too many times. Talented rookie lands in a toxic environment. Coaching staff doesn't buy in. Development stalls. The narrative flips from promising future to draft bust before the ink is even dry on year 2. And when that happens, it's not the player's fault, it's the organization's. So let's be real. This isn't just about Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry having a difference of opinion. This is about whether the Cleveland Browns are finally ready to get out of their own way and build something, or they're going to fall back into the same cycle that's plagued them for decades. They've got a rookie quarterback who just broke a 20-year curse, who showed poise, leadership, and skill, who gave the fan base a reason to hope again. And instead of celebrating that, they turned it into a controversy. If you're a Browns fan, you should be frustrated, not with Shedeur, not with Berry, but with the fact that this franchise still can't seem to handle success without tripping over itself. This moment should have been a turning point, a chance to unify around a new era. Instead, it's a fork in the road. And the decisions made in the next few weeks could determine whether Shedeur Sanders becomes the face of a new Browns legacy or the latest name on a long list of quarterbacks who never had a fair shot. Because here's the thing about culture, it starts at the top. And if the leadership can't get on the same page, the team won't either. If Stefanski is too stubborn to embrace the quarterback that just handed him a win, maybe it's time to reevaluate his role in this equation. Because Shedeur Sanders has already shown he's ready to lead. The real question is anyone in Cleveland ready to follow? And here's where it gets even messier. This isn't just about a coach giving the cold shoulder or a GM hugging it out. This is about how the Cleveland Browns, as an organization, respond to pressure. And once again, the cracks are starting to show. Look at the timing. Shedeur Sanders doesn't just win a game. He shifts the narrative. He gives Cleveland something rare. Hope. For a team that's burned through quarterback after quarterback, year after year. This wasn't just a win. It was a reset button. A moment fans have been begging for. And the response from the top? A split screen. On one side, Berry, full send, emotionally, strategically, politically, throwing his weight behind a rookie like it's the franchise-defining moment it actually is. On the other, Stefanski, arms crossed, poker-faced, acting like it was just another Sunday, refusing to give even one public acknowledgement of the guy who just did what no Browns rookie quarterback had done in 20 years. At some point, you gotta ask, what does that tell the locker room? Because this isn't college ball. These are grown professionals who know when something's off. When a coach freezes out a quarterback after a win, it sends a message, and not a good one. It says, don't get comfortable. It says, I didn't choose him. It says, he's not one of mine. And let's be honest, that matters. Because players want to believe the people leading them actually believe in each other. Not just because it's good for vibes, but because when things do get hard, and they will, you need to trust the man next to you isn't just fighting the other team, but fighting for you. Right now, that trust feels shaky. And what's wild is none of this is Shedeur's fault. The guy came in, kept his head down, did the work, and delivered. He didn't make it about himself. He didn't demand praise. He just played. But because of how this was handled, the entire focus has shifted off the win and onto the drama, which is exactly what a young quarterback doesn't need. And maybe Stefanski thinks he's being smart, staying neutral, keeping a team first, not feeding the hype. But there's a difference between humility and hostility. And this didn't read like restraint. It read like resistance. And resistance from your head coach, especially after a performance like that, isn't strategy. It's sabotage. Now, let's talk about what this means for the rest of the season. Because we're not even halfway through, and already the Browns have a quarterback controversy without the actual controversy. There's no veteran beef, no bad attitude, no on-field meltdown. There's just a rookie doing his job, and a coach refusing to acknowledge it. And the longer this goes unresolved, the more toxic it gets. Because eventually, the rest of the team is going to have to decide who they're following. The guy under center, or the guy who won't say his name. That's a lose-lose. Because if Stefanski keeps downplaying Sanders, he risks losing the locker room. If he suddenly flips and goes all in, It'll look forced. Players know authenticity. And right now, this whole thing feels manufactured, and not by the quarterback. This isn't about babying a rookie. It's about recognizing a moment, celebrating a win, setting a tone. The Browns could have walked out of that game with clarity and unity. Instead, they walked out with headlines. And the scary part? This could have been avoided with one sentence. One post-game quote. Proud of Shedeur. Big-time moment. Great future ahead. Done. Easy. Normal. But Stefanski chose not to. Just like he chose not to give the game ball. And that choice now defines the entire conversation around this team. And now the front office is in a position where they might have to make a very uncomfortable decision sooner than they thought. Do you ride with your coach, even if he's undermining your quarterback? Or do you bet the future on the player and look for a coach who actually wants to build around him? Because one thing is clear. Both of these men cannot lead this team forward if they're pulling in opposite directions. And let's be honest. If you're Andrew Berry, the math is already leaning one way. Quarterbacks don't come around often, especially ones that win day one. Stefanski's had his chances. His window is shrinking. And if this team keeps winning despite the tension, if Shedeur keeps delivering in silence while the coach keeps ducking questions, at some point, the silence becomes unsustainable. Something's got to give. So where does that leave us? A rookie quarterback just made history for a franchise known for erasing QB legacies before they even begin, instead of being celebrated. He was sidelined from a narrative by the very coach who's supposed to guide him. Meanwhile, the GM who drafted him? Loud, proud, and ready to double down. And now the clock is ticking. Not on Shedeur Sanders. Not even on this season. But on Kevin Stefanski's time in Cleveland. If you're still watching, tell us what you think. Is this just a coach playing it close to the vest? Or is he low-key tanking his relationship with the future of the franchise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you're just as stunned by this Browns drama as we are, and subscribe for more breakdowns of every twist and turn coming out of the NFL's messiest moments. Because when leadership breaks down, we'll be right here to break that down too.